Okay, everybody, so I'm going to the Belfast Telegraph. I'm going to the Belfast Telegraph to see if I can speak with maybe, possibly Sam McBride. So let's see. Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering if I could speak with Mr. Sam McBride.
He's not in.
He's not in today?
No.
What about another journalist? So Sam McBride wrote a paper and it was on a company called Nisos Group Limited. And I have some questions about that paper because I believe that the same company that it wrote about could be involved in my victimization, but I want to confirm it with Sam McBride because he's been writing and following up on it.
I'll need to email.
Well, I'm not going to be able to email because
It's the only way if you can speak to him.
well, I'm not going to be able to email because right now, given the claims that I'm making against the intelligence agency or the cybersecurity firm, it's really not a safe mechanism to send these kinds of communications via email.
All I can do is give you the general phone number and the email.
Is there journalists that would maybe speak to me? No?
No, unless they won't come.
You said what?
They won't come down.
They won't come down? Why?
Unless you have an appointment, you can't just
No,
say I need to speak to someone, it won't happen.
So I've contacted this office on a number of occasions, and I don't know if someone else is answering the phone, but I contacted, and I have evidence to prove it, but I've contacted this office and spoke to a gentleman on, I believe, 3 or 4 separate occasions. And I have attempted to schedule an appointment. This is probably within the last 3 months. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if the person that I spoke to actually works here for the Belfast Telegraph. Whether that phone call was intercepted, I don't know. So it's important to get some clarity behind this issue, and that cannot happen over the email.
Well, those are the only 2 options that I can give you. It's a phone call or an email.
Can I ask who is instructing you to give those options?
The Belfast Telegraph.
Okay.
That's a policy.
Could you ask someone if they'd be willing to talk to me? I would actually put down the camera and have a discussion with them.
Why I'm humming and hawing there is because you mentioned Sam McBride wrote the article. Some of the other journalists won't have the information.
Well, so I think this is a broader issue. You are correct. Sam McBride did write the article that I'm concerned about. But again, I haven't spoken to Sam McBride. I've only read the article and have seen him in an interview on YouTube. And so I'm not really 100% sure if Sam McBride did write the article. The only way I can know for sure is if I spoke to him personally. But that's not really my concern as to whether he wrote the article. My concern is whether the organization or the cybersecurity firm within the article has victimized me, and if he has any information about that. That's my concern. And so if he has information about that, I would really like to know.
I understand your dilemma, but you have to understand from my point of view, really.
Yes.
This is the instructions that I've been given.
But who is giving you those
Got
instructions?
your details. And if you want
But
to
remember,
pass them to Sam McBride.
So remember, I have expressed that
Yes, I know you.
on 3 separate occasions, I was communicating with somebody over the phone. His voice does not sound like yours, so I'm sure it was not you. The person is alleging that there is a call center or some kind of answering service
Probably talking about customer services.
that picks up these phone calls, and so that could be true. And so that information can begin getting lost in the files. Every time that I call, the person states that they read over the notes and that Sam McBride hasn't contacted me back. But to reiterate, this is not really about Sam McBride. I mean, I really do want to know. Well, I want to know about the article, but I also want to know about transnational repression, which may be something you don't know anything about. And so, I mean, is there, like, could you see if there is?
I can pass a message to them.
Okay.
I don't have phone numbers even myself.
Okay.
I contact them through email.
Okay, and
So
I'll just.
I can email them and ask if they'll come down.
Yes.
But you have to understand they may not come down because it's not part of the policy.
Right.
Just, you know.
Correct. And I have.
But failing that, do you have your details on a card or anything?
If
that I could contact Sam by email and ask him to contact you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've actually. I can give you my name and then my number. Oops. Yeah. So, maybe you can just write.
Sorry?
You could just write it down if you want to. Let's see. I mean, my name should be in the notes because I do have spoken to them.
But I have no access.
You could just write Kia.
Kia.
Yeah.
Is that K?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
And here's the number. Yes.
I'll email them if you want to grab a seat.
Yes, of course.
And I'll see if someone will come down.
Absolutely. So I'm just waiting to talk possibly to Sam McBride about the article. Hopefully he comes down and we're able to understand as to whether Nisos Group Limited was involved in my victimization and whether or not this is the cybersecurity firm that has been hacking into my devices, or whether or not it is the police service of Northern Ireland or some proxy. The evidence does show that is leading to the police service of Northern Ireland, as well as these cyber security agencies and proxies, but we need to get more information. And so that's why I'm here. It's a beautiful day outside and the walk was fantastic. And I really want to go to by the waterfront. It's so beautiful and I just want to sit and just go there and take in.
Okay, thank you.
Because that's where it's here at the waterfront, and just sit there.
Someone coming.
Okay, perfect.
It's a guy called Kieran.
Kieran? Okay, perfect. So I'll be speaking to someone, I think, named Kieran. So to reiterate, I'm here because I'm at the Belfast Telegraph, and there are a few things that's concerning to me. The first thing is, I believe in 2023, 2024, Sam McBride wrote an article about Nisos Group Limited, a cybersecurity firm that's domiciled here in Belfast with ties to the United States. I am deeply concerned as to whether or not this cybersecurity firm is hacking into my devices. Now, I have gone to Nisos before and tried to speak with their representatives, like I'm doing now, in a very peaceful and very measured manner, and they just exploded with telling me to leave, and so to me that signifies guilt, because if you weren't involved in my victimization, you would be open to speaking to me about my concerns and answering any questions that I have. But again, when I entered their office and asked to speak with Ryan LaSalle or somebody at Nisos, they immediately told me to leave and they're going to call the police. And if you didn't know who I was or you didn't know anything about me, why would you say that you're asking me to leave and saying that you're going to call the police? No, they could be concerned because if they don't know me, they could be concerned about, like, who is this person coming to our office, right? But still, it warrants more information. Hi,
hello.
How are you?
How you doing?
Fine, how are you? My name is Kiana, and I am here in Belfast. I'm an American citizen, and Sam McBride wrote an article on Nisos Group Limited, which is a cybersecurity firm here in Belfast.
Okay.
I suspect that this cybersecurity firm is involved in my victimization and has been hacking my devices, which is deeply concerning to me. I tie this to a broader phenomenon called transnational repression, where state agencies are utilizing their diplomatic relations, such as their intelligence capacities, to reach across borders to silence dissent.
Okay. Why would they target you?
So I didn't use that word, but to answer your question, I think the reason why they feel the need to censor my voice is because I understand the phenomenon, and I understand that Americans have died under this phenomenon. Not only Americans, but other people as well.
So can I take your name?
Yes, Kiana, Q-U-I-A.
Q-U-I.
A-N-N-A.
Okay. Surname?
In Canada, like the country.
So when you say died, like how?
That's a good question. I don't have any information about how they died, but I know that they have died. But when we look at the transnational repression literature, basically what we see are a consistent number of countries that come up in the global south. But what I discovered is that the global north also engages in transnational repression, especially through proxies, and that is not expressed in the literature. So that could be a reason why.
Can I ask Kiana what you do for a living?
So I was in university. I was a student at Queen's University Belfast pursuing a master's in international human rights law. I sought to write my dissertation on transnational repression, passed all my modules, and got along famously with all the students at the university and all the professors. And when it came time to write my dissertation on transnational repression, I was put up for disciplinary proceedings over an email that I wrote that I felt was really in good faith, because it's my duty as a student under the student charter at Queen's University to notify the university about my educational experience if I have concerns about the dissertation supervisor. But to keep in mind, throughout that entire time that I was at the university, never had any problems with any students or staff. And suddenly, when it comes time for me to write my dissertation on transnational repression, I'm being brought up on disciplinary proceedings and essentially ousted from the university. So that's just like a snippet of what I've gone through as a person going through this practice.
Can I ask when this was?
So this took place right when I got on the soil of Northern Ireland in 2023, but of course when I was in the university, that was between 2024 and 2025. And feel free to interrogate me all you want.
Well,
Yeah, 'cause I have-
but generally people who come to the attention of the intelligence services, you know, the sources are limited. Now they are expanded because of the use of artificial intelligence and the ability to harvest a large amount of data. But in order for intelligence services to target one individual, then the computer doesn't do that, can't do that. People need to do that, probably more than one. So why they would do that is, there's a very, very small category of people which they would choose to monitor. And the other thing is this, I would say to you, is this. You see, the thing is, and this is the question, because people do come to us with these kind of stories. You see, I've worked with people, other great, people who work in security. But even if somebody's following you, you're never going to know they're following you. So even if so what I'm saying is this. Wouldn't know.
So I never made an allegation that someone is following me. That's not my allegation.
Oh no, but I'm just using that as an example.
But I think what's important to understand here is that there are two tiers of tactics with transnational repression. There's the top tier, which are the hard tactics, which is incommunicado detention, extraordinary renditions, enforced disappearances, and of course, unalivements, assassinations. There's the bottom tier, which is digital transnational repression and proxy threats. This is essentially where intelligence...
You keep using that term, but I don't understand it. What does it mean, transnational repression?
Okay, so transnational repression is where a state will use its diplomatic relations. So diplomatic relations is through its embassies or its consulates to reach across borders. Reaching across borders is, so if a state is within the United States or within the Republic of Ireland, basically they can actually use those diplomatic relations to reach into Northern Ireland or Belfast to silence my voice. And so you may say, well, how do they do that? That can be done simply through conversation, interfering with a person's social structures, to ostracize them, to isolate them, as well as through intelligence capacities, through cybersecurity agencies, through surveillance, through hacking. The transnational repression literature is rich with examples of how agencies within the global south, as well as the global north, have engaged in this kind of intimidation. They give an example of Julian Assange being intimidated by the United States of America, but of course the United States is not the only country within the global north that is engaging in transnational repression. And so that is essentially what transnational repression is. More simply, think of it as a very loud activist or a researcher or human rights defender that is talking about a very embarrassing topic or an issue, and the home country wants that person to stop talking about it, or they feel threatened about the information that that person is talking about. That's transnational repression. There is an element that I've seen that involves using mental illness to silence dissent as well. So claiming that a person has a mental health condition when they don't. And we understand that that deprives a person of epistemic justice. They're not looked at as epistemic subjects. So, for example, if a person is labeled as an insane person, then nobody's going to take their testimony seriously, even though their testimony might be creditable and accurate. I have noticed that this happens as well.
Yes, but I'm sort of starting about the question. You know, so I mean, what is, you know, you were studying, so I mean, I take it it's a, you know, it's a objective study. So I mean, is there anything about your background or belief system or things that you might have said that would have set off the computer?
No, because I'm not a threat to national security. I'm not a part of any organized crime group. I'm not a part of any terrorist organizations. I'm not a part of any crime ring. I do talk about racism, but if you look at my YouTube channel, you see that everything is within the margins. And when I talk about racism, it's really academic and educational. And even though I'm talking about it from an academic or educational standpoint, that could still be seen as a threat to people who don't like to hear about that.
Yeah, what's your YouTube channel called?
It's at Real Kiana Canada. So Kiana is Q-U-I, oh, you have it there, I think, Q-U-I-A-N-N-N. But I think, to answer your question, I think the way in which you're looking at this, respectfully, maybe from a worm's eye view, because we often think, okay, the voices that we want to silence is someone like Julian Assange, who is popular, or someone like Jamal Khashoggi, who is a diplomat and a journalist who has connections. And you are true to some extent that these are strong voices that get silenced and are regrettably attacked by state agents. But it does happen to a lot of people without positional power.
Okay. So what you're saying is here, you know, everyone's going well, you're doing a Master's in Human Rights Law. Why did you choose Belfast?
I chose Belfast. Well, I was first in the Republic of Ireland. I chose the Republic of Ireland because I felt that there was a connection between my people and the Irish people, and I speak English, and of course the people in the Republic of Ireland speak English, and I chose the Republic of Ireland. When I fled to Belfast, it was because that was where I was first experiencing transnational repression. That's where I learned about it, learned that I was going through it, did some research at university, and sought to understand it more. And then when I fled here to Belfast, thought that there could be some understanding and some limitations to the practice.
You used the verb fled. What were you fleeing from?
Transnational repression.
I see. Okay. You see, what nationality is your supervisor? Don't need to give me their name, but what nationality were they?
You mean my dissertation supervisor? Mm-hmm. I believe Irish was the nationality. So to explain more about that situation, my dissertation supervisor wrote an article that I felt was inapposite to the research that I wanted to conduct. My research was going to actually include descendants of slaves, and I felt that the article that they wrote about reparations was just inconsistent with the angle that I wanted to take with my dissertation. So I said to the dissertation administrator, hey, my dissertation supervisor wrote this article. I feel very uncomfortable about that. I'm seeking perhaps you to assign another dissertation supervisor. I'm looking for guidance on this. They did, under the student charter at Queen's University Belfast, that's what's expected out of me. I'm supposed to be honest about my educational experience. I did just that. And I didn't receive any response or update or another supervisor. They just threw me into disciplinary proceedings. And that is...
Did you Did you appeal that?
Yes, so I did go through the appeals process. So I exhausted all the administrative remedies that were available to me.
Did you take legal advice?
I'm glad that you asked that question, because this is what I wanted to get to. Why I believe that there is a cybersecurity agency or an intelligence agency involved is because I tried to take legal advice, and I've gone to approximately 80 to 90 solicitors. All have told me that they don't take any human rights cases, information rights cases, consumer law cases.
Well, this city has no shortage of human rights lawyers. We also have a system called legal aid. Are you employed?
I'm currently not employed.
Your legal status, you're an American citizen?
I'm an American citizen.
You know, if you Google human rights lawyers, there's no shortage of them. The city is replete with them.
Well, that's what I have been trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've gone to the Law Society and I say, I'm being told that there's no human rights solicitors. I'm going to all the human rights solicitors.
Well, you wouldn't go to the Law Society. You would go to an individual solicitor.
Well, I've done that as well. So I've gone to Phoenix Law. I've gone to PA Duffy. I've gone to every human rights solicitor that you can think of. I've gone to it. I have evidence that I've had these conversations, and they have told me that they don't take these cases. This leads me to believe that this is a pattern in a practice of obstruction where somebody in power with legitimate power is instructing them not to.
Who did you speak to in Phoenix Law?
I spoke with Dara, and I spoke Dara Mackin. I spoke with Dara Mackin outside of the Belfast court, and he was seemingly interested in my case and told me to contact him. After he left, then never heard anything from him again, and there was this blockage.
So you sent him an email?
I did send him an email.
Okay.
And then I spoke to PA Duffy, called them multiple times, visited their office today. They told me they don't take any human rights cases, that they're at capacity. I spoke to any human rights solicitors here in Belfast that you can think of. Trust me, I've contacted them.
Did you speak to the Students' Union?
At Queen's University Belfast?
Yeah.
Spoke to the student union. I know that the student union is supposed to advocate for free speech and academic freedom. Spoke to the student union, and the student union didn't advocate for me. I sought to bring a case against Queen's University Belfast on my own as a litigant in person, and when I went to the courts, wasn't able to even bring a case against Queen's University Belfast, despite how detailed and legally accurate the complaint was.
That would be, cases are not argued at that stage, and that would be a procedural matter.
What would be a procedural matter?
Well, to even get to speak to a court, do you know what I mean? I don't know the procedural matter because I'm not a solicitor. So
the procedure is that you file a written summons, you serve the written summons. After you do that, the defendant has to make an appearance. After the defendant makes an appearance, then of course you serve the complaint onto the defendant. That's exactly what I did. I served it onto Queen's University Belfast's solicitors. After I did so, didn't hear anything back from them. This was in February. We're in August.
Okay, bye.
The supervisor. Okay. So what? I mean, for want of a better phraseology, because I do have to, I have to hit a deadline.
Yes.
Story. So what do you want?
Well, there's the most important thing that I want to know is the truth. I want to know who is behind my victimization and why has it happened this long. What is your name again?
Kieran.
Kieran, I'm deeply concerned about this practice in general because this has the capacity to radicalize people. When you're ripping away structures from them, you're stopping them from being able to access justice, you're isolating people. This is how people become radicalized. This is something we do not want here in Belfast. We don't want a person to become radicalized and take it out on the public. And this is exactly what this kind of practice does. It attempts to push a person up the staircase.
Okay. So you want to highlight what you call victimization, especially in your case. You know, the problem is, Kiana, it's very, even if absolutely everything, in the search for the truth, how would you prove any of this?
What would be the thing that I would need to prove?
Well, it's not what you need to prove. It's what we would need to prove.
All of this can be proven. So first of all, what can be proven is that Queen's University misrepresented their commitment to freedom of speech and academic freedom. That's within several policies that they have. What also can be proven is the ill treatment that I experienced at the university while just attempting to write a dissertation.
Did you speak to the Equality Commission or the Human Rights Commission, the Equality Commission?
I spoke to the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, and the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, we're not seeing eye to eye on this because they have remained silent. And the question that a paper like Belfast should be asking is, for who? Who are they remaining silent for?
And we would have to contact, absolutely everyone you've mentioned here and ask them. What they're going to tell me is that we don't comment on individual cases.
Well, even if they say that, I can assure you that I have documented every incident, that I have audio and video of to support my claims. And it's, I think, a shame that I would even need to provide that at a university that's supposed to be protecting my rights. But recently, so I completed all of my modules and set my dissertation.
What was your marks? Did you pass on your modules? I
passed all my modules. For the very longest, Queen's University didn't even give me a postgraduate diploma in international human rights law. That was what I was supposed to exit with. I recently got that within the last couple of weeks.
So you got that?
I got that, but didn't get to do the entire program.
Okay, well, that's not bad. Congratulations.
Well, thanks.
So you got that. Okay, you graduated now. So, but you didn't get done your dissertation. There's a disciplinary matter. See, I have no way of verifying that with Queen's, because they're going to say to me, listen, we don't comment on individual cases. So and because you have, like, you're talking about freedom of speech,
but I have all the evidence.
But you also have the right to privacy. So they will never publish anything about you. So they'll never tell us anything about you, which is kind of unfair, because even if you give them the right, if to tell us whatever. So yes, I get this. So listen, you've been disciplined by Queen's for whatever reason, but if unless you can get a judicial review of that decision by a solicitor when they take the case, I'm not a solicitor.
So I'm not seeking a judicial review, because basically all judicial review does is it asks whether the decision was appropriate, or whether the university followed their policy. I'm not concerned as to whether or not they followed the policy. I know that they did not, and I know that there was animus behind the reason why they didn't follow their policy. I feel like it is a human rights concern, but what's more disconcerting is the surveillance that happened at Queen's University, the hacking into my student accounts, the removing 500 words from my assignment, which brought my mark down. That is what is deeply concerning. And the question is, who did this and why are they doing it? If this is the United States, I have gone to the consulate just the other day to request to speak with Christopher Rindo to ask him, hey, are you engaged in this practice? Because if this isn't you, then you need to speak up and to confront your allies about this practice. But according to the recent Supreme Court holding in Chattery versus the United States, any collection of location data is impermissible and it is a Fourth Amendment violation.
And this would be because of your nationality. See, the thing is, like in terms of the university and other colleges, I mean, you would have people throughout their career very openly had very, 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 very radical views.
I don't have radical views, so to reiterate.
But I'm saying is, you know, if those people don't feel, you know, they are targeted, then why would you be targeted? Now, you could say it's because of your nationality.
So I don't use that word. The way that I can explain it to you is that they seek to censor my research on transnational repression because not many researchers in the field have written about global north countries that are engaged in transnational repression. I'm not really sure what kind of implications that would have for global north countries, whether or not that would bring their freedom mark down. It could very well be that they feel like I shouldn't be the person to write the dissertation. It could very well be that. But to answer your question, no, I don't have any radical views. Like I think that I am a down the middle person. I can empathize and sometimes sympathize with both sides of the aisle. I think that that's what isolates me because I don't pick just one side. Like, for example, here in Northern Ireland, sometimes there's the left and there's the right, as well as in my country. If you look at my social media page, I speak about issues on both the left and the right. And the only time that I do tend to advocate for a side is when it does have to do with the rights of descendants of slaves, because I am one. But I don't have any radical views. I'm not a communist. I'm not to say that that's radical, but not a communist, not a radical person, I'm just a socialist. So no, I haven't, I wouldn't even know where to begin to describe how they would put me into that kind of category, because I just don't hold those views.
You know, I have to be honest with you, you know, in order for us to think, well, you know, this is a major story here, we would have to have something, as in all stories, as in everything we do, you know, a physical piece of evidence that points the way to this. Now, you know, as you said, you know, you believe the problems have been created in your life because of an attempt by forces or persons
No. So let me
unknown to suppress your academic freedom.
No.
So that draws me to the question: what was your primary degree?
So I want to answer your question, and then I'll get to the degree. When I was in the Republic of Ireland, I wrote an article. It was about extrajudicial executions in the United States. It was for The Jurist. The Jurist is a very prominent legal publication. That article got, I think, this is just when I was starting out, it got at least 10,000 views from a foreign country that shared it. I believe that foreign country was Bangladesh, who shared the article. Around the same time, I wrote an article about why morality policing in Iran should be prescribed, and that was a very popular article as well. After I submitted those two articles, it was some practices that I seen that was taking place in the Republic of Ireland that I connected to the morality policing phenomenon. After those two articles were published, that's when I began to experience transnational repression. Of course, before I wrote those articles, there was some evidence that that was happening, but of course, at that time, I didn't know what transnational repression was. And so that's how it first started. And that's the reason why I believe it's happening, because of course, my political speech. But to answer your question, I sought to do an undergrad in law. I did that online with the University of Arizona. I didn't complete the last two modules of my BA in law. When I applied at Queen's University Belfast, I did a REPL application, which is, it looks at all of your experience and ways whether or not you can complete a program. And so they took all my credits into consideration. And of course, I had other postgraduate diplomas and programs that I had taken when I was in Cork in the Republic of Ireland, so that they put that into consideration. I was allowed to do the master's in international human rights law and passed all my modules, and they didn't let me write my dissertation.
Okay. It's just that I come back to the honest, and when you told your story, I've listened to the story, but we write stories, and we literally sell stories. But we also do that within a context of it's not what we believe, it's not what other people believe, it's what we can prove.
So I understand that you come back to this question about what you can prove in evidence. You would agree at this moment that I haven't showed you any evidence for you to disprove, right? You would agree?
Oh yes, I mean yes.
Okay, so.
However, let's be equally honest. Even if in the case that your views are considered so dangerous by
That's not my claim.
No. But you're right. That's not what you said. But then why would certain groups of people seek to repress that? And it comes back to that. So and how would you prove that?
Well, to answer your question, I don't think is that my views are out of control. I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's that my views are very measured, which disturbs the status quo, because the status quo has sought to radicalize persons like me, and sometimes it's very easy to radicalize persons without support structures, persons that are isolated. And sometimes when intelligence agencies or proxies can't do it, or they're having a difficulty in doing it, they push further and they push further and they push further, and it becomes an obsession for them. And that's what I think this is about. I don't think it's about the very fact that my views are outside the margins of the law. I think that they just can't push my views outside the margin of the law. And that's why they continue to push and push and push and push.
Okay.
I would like more than everything just to walk out of here and really not have to deal with this transnational repression. But we need to look at the facts. And the facts is that I've contacted the police service of Northern Ireland, sent very detailed freedom of information requests that has been within the request, where I cite case law, that they have to answer the question as to whether or not they're surveilling me or that they know of anyone who has. The police service of Northern Ireland has refused to turn over this information. And the reason why they refuse to turn over this information is because they know that I don't have any support structures, they know that I'm isolated, and that they can get away with it.
Yeah, in terms of that, I don't know what the law is in terms of do they have to tell you if they're surveilling you? Because, I mean, yeah.
Well, the law states that when it comes to secretive information, they really don't have to disclose those details if it's, of course, confidential or classified information. But within this case, because there is no national security concern, there's no threats to national security or criminality, it raises an important question as to what they're doing. Are they seeking to entrap me? Are they seeking to push me over the ledge? What are they doing? And that is a public interest matter.
You ever served in the armed forces?
No, I haven't, but my family has, or I have uncles that have, that have served in the Navy, the military.
And you're here on what legal basis?
Because I filed asylum against my country.
You're innocent. On what basis?
Political repression.
And that was successful.
That's another question. I mean, that's another matter, is that even now I haven't been allowed to go through the international protection process. I haven't even had an interview. I've been here 3 years. Haven't had a substantive interview.
How do you support yourself, if you don't mind me asking?
I am going to food banks each week. Interestingly, around June of last year in 2025, the Home Office reportedly withdrew my Section 95 support. In June 2025. In October 2025, on the 29th day, I took the Home Office to the Social Entitlement Chamber. The Social Entitlement Chamber found that I was not a failed asylum seeker, instructed the Home Office to reinstate my Section 95 support. They did do that, but there was no evidence that they sought to bring me up for my claims as an asylum seeker. Around the same time in June, they withdrew my Section 95 support again without any clarification.
Okay.
And I have, yeah.
I mean, it's a whole other story.
Yeah, it is.
The only thing I can presume is if you send us, if you send us an email and you send us whatever, as you say, if you can come up with some sort of evidence about that, I would have suggested, and I did suggest, that you seek legal advice. But if you try to go down that road, as I say, I'm not going to lie to you and say we're going to do a story on this, because as things stand, we're not. Although that's not my department, but we'll listen to you and we will look at any evidence you have apart from them.
So, to protect the chain of custody of the information and to ensure that a news publication like the Belfast Telegraph is serious, I guess I would propose that I sit down with somebody, and if they want to know what the evidence is, they can write a list of things that they feel.
No, that's not. Listen, you need to come up with it first.
So the evidence that
resources are finite, and time is finite. So any journalist, I'm only being honest with you, any journalist is going to need to see that piece of paper that proves this.
What piece of paper is that?
Exactly, I don't know. How would I know?
So the evidence that I have, to be clear, is I have audio recordings, I have video recordings.
None of which we can use, because unless you took them with the permission of the people that you took them from.
Excuse me? No, that's not the way the law works. If I'm a party to any recording, and if I'm in it and the recording has to do with me, then that is admissible evidence. So it's not...
We have a system of ethics, and we only with surreptitious, to do that, it would be very, very dangerous to it.
Oh, so it would be very ethical to record an interaction if there's a public interest concern. Like, for example, if human rights are...
Those are very exceptional circumstances.
And this is one of those exceptional circumstances, I can guarantee you.
Okay, well, I mean, listen, I can only suggest, and with all due respect, you put together, if you put together a pack or of evidence, in a form which is digestible to someone, I mean, I assure you that someone would look at that because they're very, very keen.
Well, yeah, so I'm interested in doing that. And if there is a journalist that is serious about the truth and serious about public interest issues and serious about the reporting, then
Well,
we can do
not
that.
everyone's interested in that.
But not everyone. There's sometimes journalists,
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a philosophical question with you, but we've switched over security guards here.